And the Montreal Canadiens lose in Florida versus the Panthers by a score of 7-2. 7-2. They got destroyed again. And it's a funny night tonight because everyone's out on Twitter, on social media. Now they're giving it to Marty St. Louis and this and that. My buddy Frank Cavallaro, the weatherman, the guy with the big cucoots, you know him. Frank says, Marty St. Louis, his inexperience is showing. He should have pulled out Samuel Montembeault. He left him in there for 7 goals. Pee-pee, papa, pee-pee, papa. Here's the deal. The goalies knew their schedule. They knew what their work rate was going to be. Jake Allen played last night in Tampa. Samuel Montembeault played tonight in Florida. Whether he was going to give up 4 or whether he was going to give up 8, he was staying in goal because Jake Allen is going to play again on Saturday afternoon at 4 p.m. when the Canadiens visit the Capitals in Washington, which will be their 3rd game in about 3.5 days. That's just the way it is. It's the life of a backup goaltender. It's not always pretty. It's not always easy. Every now and then you have to take your lumps, and every now and then you got to stay in goal when you're getting lit up and your team is absolutely nowhere to be found. That's it. That's all. Now St. Louis taking out, but he shows he's a peewee coach. He shows he's a bantam coach. He shows he's a midget coach. Look, the Canadiens look the way they're falling in the standings. They're falling the way I told you they would be falling. Do people not pay attention to me when I talk or what? Do it. I've been saying it now for 3 weeks, 4 weeks. I said it here on the Sick Podcast. I said it on Premier Compteur with Jean-Charles Lajoie at BPM Sports, 91.9 on your FM dial in Montreal, Quebec's all sports radio station, #1 all sports radio station. I said it on GC at TVA Sport on television. I said from December 17 to January 5th, this was when the Montreal Canadiens schedule was going to get tough. And in my opinion, when all was said and done, when that period would be over, the next day, January 6th, the Montreal Canadiens would find themselves in 27th spot in the National Hockey League, maybe even 28th. And you know where they are right now? They're 26th. They're 4 points up on Arizona, who has 3 games in hand, and they're 4 points up on Philadelphia, who has a game in hand. And whether Arizona or Philadelphia are going to win their games in hand, I don't know. This is what I believe, though. I believe the Canadiens are in for another long night or long afternoon, Saturday afternoon in Washington versus Ovechkin and the Capitals. I believe it's not going to be much easier when they visit the Nashville Predators on Tuesday, January 3rd. And then a couple of days later, when they come back from those dreaded long road trips, their first game back is going to be versus the New York Rangers. And I just have a feeling that the next day, January 6th, the Canadiens will be in 27th or 28th. This was to be expected. The Canadiens spoiled you at the beginning of the season. Samuel Montembeault stood on his head. Nick Suzuki was producing at an unbelievable rate. Cole Caulfield was producing at an unbelievable rate. They struck lightning when Kirby Dach joined that line. Sean Monahan was giving the Montreal Canadiens some good performances. And you know what? The Canadiens were working hard. They were competing. They were this. They were that. They overachieved. Then, unfortunately for them, they ran into some injury problems. And the Canadiens are a team that is short on depth. They're not good enough to begin with. So then when you have injury problems, it affects their depth even more, and then they take a hit. And then they go on these long road trips, and then you lose a couple of games, and then the confidence goes down, and then you end up losing even more. And at one point, your effort's not even there all that much anymore because you've kind of thrown in the towel, and that's exactly what's happening. I'm Marinaro, and that clip you just watched is from our most recent episode of the Sick Podcast. Once again, follow us on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's absolutely free, and you'll be notified when we go live. I'm Marinaro. Tell your friends about it. This podcast, like me, is pretty sick.